Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Essay. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei was servant of the Leviathan? Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Where are we with our forces? Lord Asmodeus asked Lady Leviathan as I stood in the room. We have mobilized our supporters, but they are currently spread out throughout the underworld. It will take time to gather all our forces in one place without drawing suspicion and attention. Lord Asmodeus nodded at this and then looked at me. He is one of your most trustworthy men. He asked of Lady Leviathan regarding me. I would trust him with my life. Lord Asmodeus smiled at this. Perhaps we should look into alternate sources of manpower. What do you mean? Lady Leviathan asked him with a confused look on her face. Beside devils, monsters are often very loosely organized, and the disappearance of a coven of vampires and a nest of werewolves will fly under the radar, but they will swell our army. You know I don't like going out of house for our forces. Too many variables when dealing with outsiders. My master looks worried at the thought of having outsiders in our forces. It's understandable as they are liabilities to us pure devils. I know that there are risks, Katerea, but we need to use the monsters. They will prove to be a valuable asset to us. My master pondered this and then sighed. Good. Issei, I'm putting you in charge of gathering forces from the various pantheons of mythology. I nodded at this. About how many should I get into our army? I asked as I wondered what big target we are going to use these forces to attack. The size and importance of the place will dictate the amount of forces necessary to conquer the place. At least 1,000. If you can find more, great. Crusoe said as I thought about this. What about strays? My master and Lord Asmodeus made a sour face at this. They stared at each other before nodding. They are simply means to an end, take them in. My master said. When should I have this army assembled by? I asked. Lady Leviathan whispered something into Lord Asmodeus's ear and he glanced at me and nodded. Next Tuesday. Okay, 5 days then. Let's do this. I smiled as I entered a shady strip club in the heart of Paris's red light district. Normally I'd be in Japan due to school, but I called in sick with a very bad case of the flu. It should cover me from suspicion from the Grimoire heiresses as to why I am absent from school during the gathering of the army. Intelligence reported that this club is the location of a nest of sirens. Sirens are female-only monsters that lure men to their deaths by charming and then eating them. What could be a better cover than a shady strip club where the dead men won't have anyone looking for them? I took a seat at a table and it wasn't long before I was approached by a siren. She was a beautiful person, creamy white skin, black eyes, and black hair with a charming smile that would melt many men's heart. Not mine though. Want to have a good time? She asked me in French. I nodded and followed her into a private room on the second floor. I sat down on the seat as she locked the door behind her. Her face was less than a foot away from my face as she smiled. Her black eyes flared a bright pink for a second, that is their way of charming men. Not going to work, siren. I leaped out of my seat and punched her in the face, sending her crashing through a wall into the main room. I heard the music outside stop as I left the room. The strippers went off their poles and have surrounded me. There are currently 9 angry siren strippers in front of me. You shouldn't have come here, devil. The one who addressed me stepped forward and she is wearing a slutty nurse outfit for some reason. You must be the leader. I have an offer to make you sirens. The look of confusion appeared on the slutty nurse. What kind of offer? She asked hesitatingly. Here's the deal. You will be part of my army or I will kill all of you right here on the spot. You know the differences in our power. Save yourself a bloodbath. Sirens aren't magical creatures and can't cast teleportation spells, so they can't escape me. Sirens are weak compared to devils, so even though I am outnumbered, I can take them all down without much effort. The leader gritted her teeth as she looked at the other siren strippers. Fine. She pushed out of her mouth painfully. Good. Don't even think about trying to go back on our agreement. I've cast a tracking spell on all of you. You try to run, I will torture and then kill you. I said with a smile as I made my way to the door. The semicircle of strippers parted like the Red Sea for me as I kept eye contact with them. By the way, sorry about the mess. I smiled as I heard footsteps to my back. I am currently in Crete, the ancient city of Knossos to be specific. I am in the underground labyrinth, the same labyrinth that Theseus killed the Minotaur in. That's where the myth becomes fiction though. Theseus killed a Minotaur, but there were others that resided there. They bred and bred, and right now, I am facing some of their descendants. Specifically, I am facing the leader of the pack that resides here, with the rest of the pack surrounding us in a circle. You devil think you can beat me? It roared as I smiled. I know I can beat you, then I'll command your herd. It snarled at me, charging at me with a massive axe. I dodged a blow and punched the Minotaur in the stomach before kicking it in the right leg. That stunned it, causing the Minotaur to fly into a rage and try to gore me to death with the horns on its head. I sidestepped the charge and punched the Minotaur in the back. I jumped on the Minotaur's back and repeatedly punched the Minotaur in the back of the head. The Minotaur struggled to buck me off its back as I continued punching it in the back of the head. I grabbed one of the Minotaur's horns and snapped it off as it cried out in pain before jamming it in the back of the head. The Minotaur slumped over as I got off it. I just killed the pack leader, causing an eerie silence to come over the place. I looked around to see the other Minotaurs to see if they would attack me. There were 30 or so Minotaurs gathered around me, each with a different expression on its face. I killed your leader, you will follow me now or die. No one moved after I declared this until one Minotaur bowed down to me and then another. All of them started to bow until everyone around me was bowing. Ah, it is good being the pack leader of Minotaurs. With my European tour done, I decided to go to Asia to recruit some yokai. One of our contacts managed to set up a meeting with a very powerful yokai leader, and that is where I am now. I tapped my foot in this abandoned warehouse in the middle of the night as I waited for my contact's yokai leader. I am in Shuri, Okinawa, and my contact is the leader of all the yokai in the local area. I felt a sudden temperature increase as flames materialized in front of me. The person currently in front of me is Inari, a male kitsune in a business suit and tie. He is in his late 40s in appearance and has 2 bodyguards with him, both also in suits. He has slicked back gray hair, pitch black eyes, and is smoking a cigar. Very mobster-like in his appearance. His strength is something that is radiating from his body. At least high class and power. I must tread carefully with this person. Issei, is it? You are the envoy from the old Satan faction. He said after taking a puff from his cigar. I grimaced when he said old. Technically yes. I heard about your situation from associate. Do tell, is that what you want to do? The situation I'm talking about is an unfortunate situation with a devil and a few Nekomatas under his care. Some of these nobles in our society feel that having a title gives you the right to do anything that you want to do. The noble in question is a member of the Dantalian clan and he raped a few Nekomatas while he was here. Inari heard about it and killed the noble, provoking an angry reaction from the clan and the underworld government in general. The entire situation is ridiculous overall. Why mate with a Nekomata in the first place? That type of crossbreeding will not be allowed when we are back in power. One of your so-called nobles raped and tried to murder a few of our people, and you called it a situation. His power flared as I frowned. And that will not happen if you agree to our offer. What offer? He narrowed his eyes as I thought of my response. We require you and your constituents to fight in our army. Once we topple the current government, we will withdraw all devils from the face of the earth, prevent any unfortunate situations like this happening again. From what I have heard, there are more than 200 yokai under his rule, all from varying species, so he will be a welcome addition to our army. He looks shocked at the offer and quickly nods. I offer my hand out and we shake on it. Looks like you just made a deal with the devil. I decided to make a trip to Kuoh to investigate rumors of a stray in the area. If the rumors are true, this proves that we were right about reincarnating other species into our ranks. This particular stray is called Visor and she killed a noble, then started killing humans for food. The killing humans part doesn't bother me, but it is the attention that this stray is bring to us that bothers me. But Suda and Motohoma have already traced the stray to an abandoned warehouse just outside of town, and I am with them right now. Keep the barrier up. I said to my friends. We can't have the stray teleport out of here, can we? I kicked in the door and was immediately greeted with the smell of decaying bodies. There are numerous human bodies hanging upside down from the ceiling. The smell got stronger as I entered the warehouse. You smell absolutely wonderful. Are you sweet or sour? I frowned as I saw the source of these words. It's an ugly, disgraceful stray taking up my precious air. Stray, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to enslave you like the dog you are. Her face twisted sadistically as she charged me, firing acid from her breasts, which are rather large and wonderful. That is a first. I frowned, dodging the squirts of acid as I waded in. She tried to slash me with her spears, to which I ducked underneath. I punched her in the breast and then chopped her in the neck. I jumped back as she screamed in pain, grabbing her neck. What did you do to me? I placed the crest on you. My palm had my family's crest on it and it is now on her neck. The crest is a spell that takes the form of a mark. We've used it for generations to brand our slaves and to ensure their complete loyalty to us. The spell takes away the slaves' will to resist and makes them completely obedient within minutes. My work here is done. I ran out of the warehouse as Mitsuda and Motohoma looked into the warehouse. Make sure she doesn't kill herself. Bring her back to the safe house and completely tie her up and use a magical barrier. Alright, one stray is in the army. It is the night before Tuesday and Lord Asmodeus will be expecting his army tomorrow. This is the final stop for my Gather the Army tour. I'm on the Asian mainland this night, specifically in China. I was thinking as to what else the army needed. We have minotaurs, sirens, various yokai, but we were missing zombies and ghosts. That brings me to an empty field outside Shenzhen, China. This was the site of one of the numerous battles between the Song dynasty and the Mongols, and with battle comes death. Many civilians and soldiers were massacred before, during, and after the battle, so they are great candidates for ghosts, as most are extremely vengeful. I looked at the night sky and back down to the ground. I already cast a rune through the area and am ready to begin now. There will be 5 separate spells, each intertwining with the rest. One spell will see how many bodies are there in the ground. The next spell will see how much spiritual energy this place has. The higher the amount, the larger the amount of spirits there are, or the more powerful the spirits are. The third and fourth spells will raise the spirits and zombies respectively. And the fifth and final one is the most important one. This is the spell to bind the spirits and zombies to me, otherwise they would run amok in the world. Lucky for me that I am a natural spellcaster, otherwise this would take a lot of power out of me. Oh tell us, Dick Subqual added. Non possenti quainti videbitur. Wow, there are thousands of well-preserved corpses here. Some of them are dressed in military wear with arms beside them. Fidelis calum, dic mihi, qua ego autumn non potus sentire. Astendite mihi potestas esset. Okay, pretty substantial power. Hundreds of different spirits, many of them not particularly powerful, but there are 5 who are quite strong. Perturbabant populum, id quadalum. Consurge, et cessitat, perpetuo permanebant. I see them. Faintly rising from the ground. Their grey auras flicker into the night sky. I smiled as they hit the top of the invisible ceiling set by the magical rune I have over the area. Can't go anywhere. Sorry. Sanctus ossa, et susciter vires convenient. Ex vobis os, et os aegis coram me sicut tu. They're all coming up from the ground. Bony fingers reaching up from the ground, overturning the dirt as they struggle to get free. There are thousands of them. Dressed in whatever they died in all those years ago. Some have armor drooping off their skeletons, others are just bare skeletons. They'll do though. Et submitite voluntatem mihi. Fiat cor, corpus et anima est unicum magistro. I smiled as I felt all of them linked to me. It's something you can't imagine. All of these spirits inside you, their hopes, dreams, rushing through your very being. It's not good. I can feel their hatred trying to take over within me. Try to change who I am. I knew this would happen. I grabbed the pendant from my pocket and firmly grasped it in my hand. This pendant was the property of Theophilus of Adana and was used to bind many powerful creatures in it. It can be used to better manage the spirits roaming within my conscious. O sacred pentagram of fallen humanity, allow for the twisting of life, the mixing of truth, O sacred locket of the night sky. I feel all of the spirits slowly slipping into the pendant, which I placed around my neck like a necklace. I still feel the link between me and the spirits, and I'm sure I can influence the spirits and zombies. Still need to make sure though. Attack. The spirits flew out, and the zombies moved towards the direction that I thought of. Good. It works. How's the army? Lord Asmodeus asked as I appeared in the hideout the next morning. Very good. I've assembled a pack of minotaurs, a group of sirens, various yokai, zombies, spirits, and a stray. Lord Asmodeus smiled and placed his arm around my shoulder. I'm proud of you. As am I. My master said as she walked into the room. It is Thursday night, the day before we will rid the underworld of their tyrants and help restore the true rulers of the underworld. I am currently seated at the table with my master, Lord Asmodeus, and Lord Beelzebub. This is a meeting to discuss strategy with the true rulers of hell, as they have given me a seat at the table to voice my opinions. So the first strike shall be the wave of magicians under my control. Shalba, would your battle group of loyalists be ready to strike at the heart of Lilith? My master said. The attack on Kuoh Academy isn't just one attack. It is the beginning of a series of attacks throughout the underworld, and the only target on Earth is here. From what they have told me so far, there will be attacks on key government positions agrees, Lucifid, Lilith, Cocytus, and Mon. Especially with Lilith being the center of power for the fake Satans, if we manage to catch the 2 remaining fake Satans here, it can really disrupt the possibility for reinforcements at Kuoh. Yes, we've massed the forces in and around Lilith. They are in sleeper cell units throughout the city itself, but the main force is concentrated in the dense forest area outside the city. At my command, thousands of loyalists will be in prime position to take over key positions within the city. My master nodded and looked at Lord Asmodeus. Crucery, how were the movements of the fallen angels? Do they, or anyone else appear to have caught wind of our plans? Lord Asmodeus shook his head. Communications have been normal. Nothing indicates that they have detected our massing of forces. Same goes for the yokai and other groups of monsters. They don't know what we are going to do. My master nodded and then looked at me. Issei, Crucery, where will you be at the start of the mission? My master said to us. She mentioned our starting positions earlier, so she is making sure that I listen to her. I will be at the 5th pillar, and before the school clock chimes at 12 noon, you will come in, and then I will erect a barrier, sealing everyone in and preventing escape. That is my position, as Lady Leviathan said. My task is to erect a barrier that prevents the devils inside from leaving and also preventing enemy reinforcements in. I nodded as my master smiled at me. But Issei. Crucery. On the opposite side of Kuoh Academy. You are on the north side, I'll be on the south side with an army that Issei assembled. My master smiled at this. The underworld will soon be ours. The bell rung and I got up from my seat. It is 6th period and right now I have my lunch period. I stared at the clock to see what time is it and how much longer to the operation start. 11:20. 40 minutes to work. I walked in the sea of people and made my way outside. I walked past the tennis courts and hid behind a tree near the gate wall of Kuoh Academy. I laid my backpack on the ground and unzipped it. I took out the 6 bowls, but that isn't what is important. There are very special items in my bag today. There are 5 bottles of pure devil blood courtesy of Lord Beelzebub, 5 crushed snake heads, 6 head hairs from a pale horse, and 5 stones from the Tower of Babel. Master said it wasn't easy to get these items, but boy are they worth it. These are components for a spell to erect a very powerful barrier. The spell is very powerful, and only a select few know about it, as the spell is written in very obscure spell books. I need to mix up the one of each of the ingredients at 5 places. The 5 places must be in the shape of a pentagram, and after mixing the ingredients and burying them at each point, I need to recite a special Enochian incarnation at each point for the spell to work. After doing this at 4 points, at the top of the pentagram, I will mix the ingredients, but add an extra horsehair at this location. After reciting the incarnation, the very ground will tremble, and pillars of pure power will shoot up into the sky and connect with each other, forming an indestructible barrier that no one can escape from. I took a bottle of blood and poured it onto the bowl. I then mashed the snake head in my hand before placing it into the bowl. I then took a horsehair from the Ziploc bag and placed it on top the snake head. Lastly, I placed a stone on the bowl. The ingredients must be placed in this order, otherwise the spell won't work. I set the bowl aside and started digging with my hands. I dug a hole about 6 inches deep and placed the bowl into the hole before covering it up. The incarnation is broken into 5 pieces for the 5 pillars and they need to be spoken in a specific order. Bereri de ilaparegi toras odura maguls. Enochian, such a pain in the ass to memorize and recite. The mound of dirt over the bowl become a bright red for a moment before dissipating. I checked my watch to make sure that I have enough time to get from place to place and recite the incarnations. 11:25. Plenty of time. I walked to the next location, the woods beyond the baseball field. I stuck close to the wall of the academy so that no one would see me and be suspicious about me. That is the last thing I need right now. I found a nice spot to place the bowl in the woods. I mixed the ingredients in the bowl and dug a hole the same size as last time. Bereridas lidas acre urma ugir de derlapas ajamebi. The bluish color shined and then faded after a few seconds. 2 down, 3 to go. I glanced down to see the time that I have remaining. 11:35. 25 minutes. That's doable. I crept along the wall to the second set of woods much more cautiously than I did before. These woods are located near the old school building, the headquarters for the Grimoire heiress and her peerage of mutts. All of them currently should be in the main building, posing in pictures, or just otherwise looking happy and impressive for the parents that have come today. Sadly, many of them will be causalities in the massacre today. What a shame. I went towards the back of the woods, as far away from the old school building's view, and started working. I did the same procedure and buried the bowl before covering it back up. Bereri de ozadani gonu edahem izoda amaderi atsaverm makalzoda and anapia. A sudden gust of wind blew by me as I got up. I glanced down to see what time is it. 11:42. Alright, 2 more in 18 minutes. I walked in a straight path towards the training hall and made it there with no one inside of me. Lunch is almost over, so I guess everyone has started to return to the main building. I repeated the same process before I said the 4th incarnation. Bereri de Keozga, Nilanua Michaela Zodol Sansanonu. The dirt turned pitch black before fading to its normal brown. Alright, 1 left. I glanced down at my watch. 10 minutes to noon. 10 minutes to when the magic happens. I jogged to the front of the gate. There were a few people out and about, but no one seriously looked at me or what I was doing. I placed down my bag and established a telepathic link with my master. The barrier is almost up. 2 minutes to completion. Are the forces in place? I telepathically asked as I turned my face towards the gate of the academy and crouched down towards the bag. Yes. All of our forces are in place. 10 seconds noon, we will all come in. Make sure your watch is synchronized. It's been synchronized since yesterday. You did it yourself. Of course. I broke off communications and glanced at my watch. 11:58, 42 seconds. I mixed up the ingredients in the bowl and found a small bush nearby. I heard some whispers from other people, but ignored them to focus on the task. I buried the bowl and covered it up as I stood back up. 11:59, 47 seconds. 47, 48, 49, 50. They're here. 58, 59, 60. Odd sync, sir. Bala perturbs ar gafalana adagita quisaba anugelrita ilo. The ground quaked as 5 pillars of pure energy shot into the sky. I stood in awe as the 5 pillars crashed together over the gymnasium to form a 5-sided pyramid. Issei. My master said in front of me as hundreds of cloaked figures walked behind her. Yes. I asked as she smiled. Here, you will need this. She opened the lid of a jar with a snake inside of it. Is that what I think it is? Indeed it is, Issei. It is yours. It's Office's snake. I took the snake out of the jar and swallowed it whole. Wow. I feel the power racing through my body. We all have them, Issei. Now let's go and kill those fake satans. Yes, let's go save the underworld. It is Thursday night, the day before we will rid the underworld of their tyrants and help restore the true rulers of the underworld. I am currently seated at the table with my master, Lord Asmodeus, and Lord Beelzebub. This is a meeting to discuss strategy with the true rulers of hell, as they have given me a seat at the table to voice my opinions. So the first strike shall be the wave of magicians under my control. Shalba, would your battle group of loyalists be ready to strike at the heart of Lilith? My master said. The attack on Kuoh Academy isn't just one attack. It is the beginning of a series of attacks throughout the underworld, and the only target on Earth is here. From what they have told me so far, there will be attacks on key government positions agrees, Lucifid, Lilith, Cocytus, and Mon. Especially with Lilith being the center of power for the fake satans, if we manage to catch the 2 remaining fake satans here, it can really disrupt the possibility for reinforcements at Kuoh. Yes, we've massed the forces in and around Lilith. They are in sleeper cell units throughout the city itself, but the main force is concentrated in the dense forest area outside the city. At my command, thousands of loyalists will be in prime position to take over key positions within the city. My master nodded and looked at Lord Asmodeus. Crucery, how were the movements of the fallen angels? Do they, or anyone else appear to have caught wind of our plans? Lord Asmodeus shook his head. Communications have been normal. Nothing indicates that they have detected our massing of forces. Same goes for the yokai and other groups of monsters. They don't know what we are going to do. My master nodded and then looked at me. Issei, Crucery, where would you be at the start of the mission? My master said to us. She mentioned our starting positions earlier, so she is making sure that I listen to her. I will be at the 5th pillar, and before the school clock chimes at 12 noon, you will come in, and then I will erect a barrier, sealing everyone in and preventing escape. That is my position, as Lady Leviathan said. My task is to erect a barrier that prevents the devils inside from leaving and also preventing enemy reinforcements in. I nodded as my master smiled at me. But Issei. Crucery. On the opposite side of Kuoh Academy. You are on the north side, I'll be on the south side with an army that Issei assembled. My master smiled at this. The underworld will soon be ours. The bell rung and I got up from my seat. It is 6th period and right now I have my lunch period. I stared at the clock to see what time is it and how much longer to the operation start. 11:20. 40 minutes to work. I walked in the sea of people and made my way outside. I walked past the tennis courts and hid behind a tree near the gate wall of Kuoh Academy. I laid my backpack on the ground and unzipped it. I took out the 6 bowls, but that isn't what is important. There are very special items in my bag today. There are 5 bottles of pure devil blood courtesy of Lord Beelzebub, 5 crushed snake heads, 6 head hairs from a pale horse, and 5 stones from the Tower of Babel. Aster said it wasn't easy to get these items, but boy are they worth it. These are components for a spell to erect a very powerful barrier. The spell is very powerful, and only a select few know about it, as the spell is written in very obscure spell books. I need to mix up one of each of the ingredients at 5 places. The 5 places must be in the shape of a pentagram, and after mixing the ingredients and burying them at each point, I need to recite a special Enochian incarnation at each point for the spell to work. After doing this at 4 points, at the top of the pentagram, I will mix the ingredients, but add an extra horsehair at this location. After reciting the incarnation, the very ground will tremble, and pillars of pure power will shoot up into the sky and connect with each other, forming an indestructible barrier that no one can escape from. I took a bottle of blood and poured it onto the bowl. I then mashed the snake head in my hand before placing it into the bowl. I then took a horsehair from the Ziploc bag and placed it on top the snake head. Lastly, I placed a stone on the bowl. The ingredients must be placed in this order, otherwise the spell won't work. I set the bowl aside and started digging with my hands. I dug a hole about 6 inches deep and placed the bowl into the hole before covering it up. The incarnation is broken into 5 pieces for the 5 pillars, and they need to be spoken in a specific order. Arari de ilaparegi toris odura maguls. Enochian, such a pain in the ass to memorize and recite. The mound of dirt over the bowl become a bright red for a moment before dissipating. I check my watch to make sure that I have enough time to get from place to place and recite the incarnations. 11:25. Plenty of time. I walk to the next location, the woods beyond the baseball field. I stuck close to the wall of the academy so that no one would see me and be suspicious about me. That is the last thing I need right now. I found a nice spot to place the bowl in the woods. I mixed the ingredients in the bowl and dug a hole the same size as last time. Araridas lidas acre urmayujir de derlapas ajamebi. The bluish color shined and then faded after a few seconds. 2 down, 3 to go. I glanced down to see the time that I have remaining. 11:35, 25 minutes. That's doable. I crept along the wall to the second set of woods much more cautiously than I did before. These woods are located near the old school building, the headquarters for the Grimoire heiress and her peerage of mutts. All of them currently should be in the main building, posing in pictures, or just otherwise looking happy and impressive for the parents that have come today. Sadly, many of them will be causalities in the massacre today. What a shame. I went towards the back of the woods, as far away from the old school building's view, and started working. I did the same procedure and buried the bowl before covering it back up. Arari de ozadani gonu edahem izoda amaderi atsarum makalzoda and inapia. A sudden gust of wind blew by me as I got up. I glanced down to see what time is it. 11:42. Alright, 2 more in 18 minutes. I walked in a straight path towards the training hall and made it there with no one inside of me. Lunch is almost over, so I guess everyone has started to return to the main building. I repeated the same process before I said the fourth incarnation. Arari de Keozga, Nilanua Michaela Zodol Sansanonu. The dirt turned pitch black before fading to its normal brown. Alright, 1 left. I glanced down at my watch. 10 minutes to noon. 10 minutes to when the magic happens. I jogged to the front of the gate. There were a few people out and about, but no one seriously looked at me or what I was doing. I placed down my bag and established a telepathic link with my master. The barrier is almost up. 2 minutes to completion. Are the forces in place? I telepathically asked as I turned my face towards the gate of the academy and crouched down towards the bag. Yes. All of our forces are in place. 10 seconds noon, we will all come in. Make sure your watch is synchronized. It's been synchronized since yesterday. You did it yourself. Of course. I broke off communications and glanced at my watch. 11:58, 42 seconds. I mixed up the ingredients in the bowl and found a small bush nearby. I heard some whispers from other people, but ignored them to focus on the task. I buried the bowl and covered it up as I stood back up. 11:59, 47 seconds. 47, 48, 49, 50. They're here. 58, 59, 60. Odd sync, sir. Balapa turbs ar gahalana adagita quisaba anyagel ilo. The ground quaked as 5 pillars of pure energy shot into the sky. I stood in awe as the 5 pillars crashed together over the gymnasium to form a 5-sided pyramid. Issei. My master sat in front of me as hundreds of cloaked figures walked behind her. Yes. I asked as she smiled. Here, you will need this. She opened the lid of a jar with a snake inside of it. Is that what I think it is? Indeed it is, Issei. It is yours. It's Office's snake. I took the snake out of the jar and swallowed it whole. Wow. I feel the power racing through my body. We all have them, Issei. Now let's go and kill those fake satans. Yes, let's go save the underworld. So how do you feel? My master asked me as she handed me an earpiece. I put the earpiece in as static was heard before the sound turned into Lord Beelzebub's voice. I feel great. What is the earpiece for though? I asked as I flexed muscles throughout my body. Power is just surging through every vein in my body and it feels absolutely euphoric. This is to update us on the status of Shalba's mission. I nodded as I surveyed the area. My master then looked on me with a stern face. Issei, it is your duty to protect this pillar. Without it, the barrier will fail and they will escape. I nodded. I understand. I will guard it with my life. I was telling the truth. I am prepared to die for my cause. They must not be allowed to escape here or our efforts shall be in vain. Good, my Issei. My master said to me as she led the group of devils and yokai against the school. The group sprinted into the school building as the static in my earpiece flattened to a normal sound. Commence operation. Lord Beelzebub's voice resounded through my earpiece. Hey, who are? The sound of magic spells being fired was deafening in the earpiece. Power up the amplifier. Caluson, switch to frequency 105. 2. The sound of keys clicking and devils moving around were heard in the earpiece afterwards. Are we up? Lord Asmodeus asked. Yes, all of the underworld is tuned in. Someone else said. Attention, this is your true ruler speaking. I, Shalba Beelzebub, and the rest of the true Satans, have began the offensive to liberate the underworld from the tyrants that currently control it. As we speak, our loyal and brave forces are fighting the traitors everywhere they are and will not stop until the blood of every single false ruler flows through the streets of Lilith like a mighty river. Do not fear, we will bring the underworld back to its former glory and we will restore the pride we have as devils. This is the dawn of a new era, a paradise for all devilkind. Please join us in overthrowing the tyrants and destroying the chains that are holding us back. Join and fight for the rightful rulers of hell and bring the underworld to a new era of prosperity and greatness. Very well said, Lord Asmodeus. The connection broke off. Static sounded within the earpiece again. Ah, the fighting has started. I can see large explosions happening throughout the school building. Wait, how is that possible? Our forces are being pushed back. I cannot believe my eyes. Our yokai and devil forces are being blasted out of windows. All the windows have shattered with the burnt bodies of our forces going through the remains of the windows. Issei. My master's voice telepathically bounced around in my head. What happened? I said back urgently. These bastards are repelling our attacks. Our forces cannot get through the hallways to overwhelm them with our numbers, and they are getting torn to shreds here. I've ordered a retreat of our forces from the school building. I need you to move to Plan B in 20 seconds. I looked at my watch as I contemplated Plan B. Plan B: destroying the building with a spell that will rain down meteors on it. But our people are still inside. Shouldn't we wait until they all evacuate? No, Master said this, and her orders are absolute. I sighed as the timer ticked down to 0. 20 seconds are up. Rex Magnesine Lapides, ut cum de calo pluvia grandis. But that said, the ground quaked as thousands of flaming stones rained down from the sky onto the school building. The force of the stones created a dust screen that I can't see through. I feel that my master and the remainder of our forces are heading in my direction. I cast a simple wind spell to clear the dust and can't believe what I am seeing. They're fine. All of them are underneath a protective barrier. Lord Gremory, the fake Satans, the 2 heiresses and their peerages, and her. Lord Lucifuge's sister, the traitorous one who married into the Gremory. Graphia Lucifuge Gremory, the strongest queen and traitor to the true Satans. The barrier disappeared as those in the circle took up defensive positions. Some of the students look shocked that I am here. Oyama. Saji and Kiba shouted. I cracked a smile at this as I joined Lord Asmodeus and Lady Leviathan's side. You actually believed that? I knew you were stupid, but I never thought you were that stupid. I chuckled as they gritted their teeth. The fake Satan Lucifer stepped forward with a gentle smile on his face. That bastard, stealing the crown from Lord Rizavam. Issei Hyoudou. Is it? He said to me. Of course, it is I. His smile wavered a little bit at this, but soon returned. Of course, the Hyoudou clan was fanatically loyal to the old Satan faction. Shame, your family was a very good clan. Very powerful. We are, and we will regain our status after killing you. I said as he frowned ever so slightly after sighing. Is that so? Shame, we could have avoided all of this bloodshed. Stop talking shit and die already, Prusery said. He launched a massive surge of energy at our enemies. The fake Lucifer looked at his father and nodded. Ice sculptures blocked the massive surge of energy and caused the sculptures to explode. Curse the fake Leviathan. Her ice powers are well known as a thorn in our side. What are you standing around for? Surround them and attack. Lady Leviathan shouted at our forces. Cries of victory resounded as the forces encircled the enemy. Rex Magnesine Lapides, ut cum de calo pluvia grandis. I chanted as thousands of flaming stones rained down from the skies. The enemy has to deal with attacks from the sky and the air now. The traitor queen has taken to the skies and is now destroying the stones. Over here. I barely dodged as the sword flew in front of my face. I turned to see my attacker. Issei Hyoudou. I smiled as I materialized 2 kayakin, which are Japanese daggers, and held them in reverse grip. Rematch time. I smiled as we clashed. His slashes and thrusts are very quick, but I managed to dodge all of them. I got in close and tried an upward slice with one of the swords, but he managed to get out of the way. I was going lightly at the kendo club. You are witnessing my true power. I said as he tried to veer to the right and then came back at me from the left. I parried away his sword by knocking into his wrist and slashing it with one of the kayakin. He jumped back and grabbed his wrist. He cringed in pain before looking at me with a hateful glance, to which I smiled. I jumped up and opened my wings as I felt tremors in the earth. A split second later, dozens of swords sprouted from the ground. Sword birth, now this is getting interesting. I descended back to the ground as he picked up a demonic sword and rushed at me. I carefully watched Kiba, but I also noticed a blur from the corner of my left eye. The blur jumped and aimed a kick at me. Hineko, welcome to the party. I dodged the jump kick and Kiba's thrusting attack. Hineko stood in front of Kiba as she came at me in boxing stance. She threw 2 jabs at me, to which I parried with my forearms. Damn, this girl punches hard. I guess that comes with being a slave rook. 2 versus 1, this isn't fair. I smiled as I began to focus my internal energy to certain parts of my body. With Office's power running through my body, this process is absolutely orgasmic as I feel surges of energy all throughout my body. Senjutsu? She asked alarmed, to which I grinned at her. Yes. I'm proficient in Senjutsu as you are, Nekomata. Her expression turned dark as I rushed at the 2 with great speed. I sidestepped Kaneko's cross and tried to slice her stomach with my blades. The blades nicked her skin, but she showed no emotion. She might be fine now, but in a few minutes she will be in serious trouble. I turned to dodge a slash from Kiba that would have taken my head clean off if I didn't dodge it. I jumped back so that I have both Kaneko and Kiba in my sight. Both of them rushed at me, Kaneko with a flurry of punches and Kiba with a thrust of his sword. I rushed to Kiba, ducking the swing of his sword. I got within his range and stomped on his foot. That distracted him so that I could slash at his face with my dagger. The dagger opened up a cut on his face, but that is only the distraction. My other dagger is aimed at his stomach and it hit. I pushed the dagger into his stomach as he coughed up blood. Arg. I was punched in the back, pushing me and Kiba into the ground. Kiba fell into the ground with me on top. I smiled as I rolled out and back to my feet. Kaneko's eyes widened as she saw Kiba on the ground. You killed him, you caused me to stab him. She started shaking as her expression became hidden from me. You killed Senpai. A burst of rage and energy was emitted from her, catching me off guard for a moment. Good, let the rage take over. She rushed at me even faster as I struggled to keep track of her strikes. Arg. She punched me in the stomach as I materialized another dagger. I crossed my arms over my body with the blade still in reverse as I watched her. That's right. Fight angry. You'll be sloppier. He was weak. He deserved to die. He was just a stray. She rushed at me even faster and even more violently than before when she heard stray. She was a stray, so it'd strike a sensitive nerve. I charged at her, throwing one dagger at her to which she dodged. I reversed the grip of my remaining blade as I threw a front kick. The kick hit her in the face, but she kept charging forward with a torrent of punches. She punched me in the face, to which I frowned. Alright, enough of these games. I redirected her follow-up punch and managed to get around her. I grabbed her small body from behind and began to stab her in the back repeatedly. I smiled as I felt something resist the blade. The blade hit something hard in the lower back. She stopped struggling after that. It appears that I have severed her spinal cord. That should do the trick. A fitting end for a stray. Kaneko? An anguished female voice said. I smiled as I turned around. Ria's Gremory, crying out as I dropped Kaneko's body to the ground. Her body is glowing red, but I see something alarming behind her. Lord Asmodeus is in trouble. Ignore the bitch and save Lord Asmodeus as he is facing down Lord Gremory, the traitor queen and the fake Leviathan. I launched a blast of demonic power at the Gremory heiress as a distraction as I rushed towards Lord Asmodeus. I dashed past her and from the corner of my eye, I could see the attack being dispelled by Akeno. Damn, well you can't win all of them. I see that the two women are attacking Lord Asmodeus with ice, and Lord Gremory is aiding them by enhancing their magic. I launched fireballs at the three, distracting their attention from Lord Asmodeus. The three turned their attention to me as I launched hundreds of fireballs at them, with lightning bolts in between waves of fireballs. Get out of there. I shouted as Lord Asmodeus took flight away from there. He joined me in flight as we launched thousands of balls of energy at those three to put distance between us. I smiled as we gained a great amount of distance between them. I looked down to see my master near the ground, fighting members of the fake Leviathan sisters' peerage, and more importantly him, the fake Lucifer. I need to help her as she is outnumbered and surrounded. I'm here, master. I said as I jumped into the fray. I smiled as our backs met. Here we are, fighting back to back as there are enemies on every side. I see 3 enemies on my side, all female. The vice president and 2 other members of the student council. Ladies, I'd say that I am sorry for this, but I truly am not. Okay, Katana girl is on my left, guy face in the middle, and the vice president is on the right. I rushed at the katana girl on my left after materializing a katana of my own. I parried her thrust with a downward strike and backhanded her with my palm. From the corner of my eye, I see the vice president charging at me with an ajanata. I cartwheeled out of the way, but met a fist to the face from the guy-faced female, Tsubasa Yura, if I am correct. I rolled my neck and smiled at her. I launched a torrent of Yura, but a mirror then appeared in front of her. The mirror shattered, and a torrent of fire was then launched back at me. I dodged and whirled around just in time to see Katana girl try to take my head off with a slice of her blade. I smirked as I saw her shocked expression. I punched her in the face and then kicked her in the stomach, sending her flying. I rotated my head around to see Yura coming at me with a roundhouse kick. I blocked the kick with my forearm, but the attack still hurt. I ignored the pain and charged at her. She threw a hook, and I ducked under and countered with a left hook, followed by a right uppercut blade slash. The left hook stunned her, and the right uppercut blade cut her neck open. I pushed forward and swung my blade at her stomach, hitting her right underneath the ribs. I left her limp body on the ground as the vice president charged at me with a look of rage. I sidestepped the thrust before hitting the naginata upwards with a kick. I rushed forward and punched a hole in her chest. I impaled her and saw my hand sticking out the other side. I see Saji aiming something at my master. Watch out. I shouted as my master dodged a line from Saji. Thank you, Issei. She started as a look of absolute horror came onto my face. Fake Lucifer is firing dozens of spheres at my master. I launched a stream of demonic power at the spheres, hitting many of them, but a few swerved under the beam of power and are headed straight for my master. I rushed at her, tackling her to the ground and shielding her with my body. I glanced at her, and she is coughing up blood. Damn, have to take care of her first. I glanced hateful at the enemies behind us as I created a teleportation circle. You can't chase us. I'm holding this barrier together, you need to stabilize the dimension, otherwise all the humans here will die. I said with a smirk as they grimaced at this. Their need to protect humans is something I will never understand. I teleported out of here as I see Lord Asmodeus nodding at us from above as a magical circle appeared below him. We will finish this. I said as I teleported out of there. We made it back to the hideout, but Lady Leviathan's condition is getting worse. How the hell did this happen? Twilight healing was supposed to prevent this. I carried Lady Leviathan on my arms as Lord Asmodeus pushed the door open. What happened? Ekrizel, our resident medic, asked as we set Lady Leviathan on the operating table. I don't know. She was hit by the fake Lucifer's power of destruction balls, but Twilight healing should have taken care of that. I said as the medic went to work casting a stabilizing spell on her. There was a faint pulse of red before a bluish tint appeared over my master's body. The medic has a concerned look on his face. What is happening? Lord Asmodeus asked. This is some serious internal damage. Office's snake has destroyed our magical reserves, and the Twilight healing gear can't repair that. Too much power and energy expended in her fight, she will die shortly. These words are like daggers to my heart. What do you mean she will die? Lord Asmodeus shouted as I became speechless. Surzich's power of destruction fried her internal organs, and it is a miracle that she hasn't died from multiple organ failures yet. There is no stopping this, not even devil magic can't save her now. I slumped to the ground as I heard this. My master, the most beautiful woman in the world, will die. No, this cannot happen. Someone will pay. He did it. Surzich's. I will kill you and your entire family. This isn't about taking over the underworld back. No, this is something else. This is revenge, and I will personally have it. Just you wait. They've killed her. My master. The kindest, most intelligent devil in the world. They will all die. Yes, all of them will die. Ha. I will kill all of them for her. My revenge will be complete after I destroy their bodies and feed them to the Cerberus of hell. Calm down, Issei. Take a deep breath. There we go. In and out. There is no use planning revenge with a clouded mind. Lord Asmodeus, may I take a few days leave of absence? I need to clear my head and think of revenge for my master. I said as Lord Beelzebub's teleportation circle became visible in the hideout. I completely forgot about him. Why is he here? Did the operation fail? Of course. We all need to cool down. We are in no position to kill the imposters and avenge Katerea like this. Take a week off and then come back here. I nodded to Lord Asmodeus and Lord Beelzebub as I summoned a teleportation circle. I have no destination in mind. Just anywhere to take my mind off my master. I closed my eyes as the circle took me away. I took a week off to formulate a plan that will ensure that we get revenge. Lord Beelzebub and Asmodeus know of the plan and approve it, so I am currently acting on that plan. I'm checking in with my source, by phone of all things, as the source is a human. Humans and I have a special relationship. I don't care how often, how many, or in which way I kill humans. Humans are generally wastes of space and air, and I despise when they are reincarnated into our race. That being said, humans do have a purpose to us devils. The devils make deals with humans and they give us power in return. For many devils, it enhances reputation as the bigger fish you can get with your deals, the more power you get. Most deals involve the human getting something, and in return, the devil who fulfill contract getting worship from said human. The power of prayer is something that is very powerful to devils and can boost a devil's power substantially if done over a period of years, depending on the length of the term specified in the deal. We typically don't work like that though. When we, the true Satans, make a deal, the reward is typically much higher, but so is the price. Standard terms of the contract involve the person offering up their soul, a valuable portal of energy, to us when they die. The person is typically given a period of 10 years, and during these 10 years, they also have to give daily prayer to us. Think of it as interest on top of the soul. After the 10 years, the person goes to the underworld and we get the soul. Normally we'd just steal the souls from people, but that would get angels and the rest of devil society on our tail, so we have to go with this method at this moment. We can offer much more than other devils, such as millions of dollars, power, and almost anything you can think of, but remember, only 10 years. As such, most of our clientele is what you would refer to as fast and loose. Some of my more famous clients are singers that millions look up to all over the world, and they have lyrics that have subtle references to us. Mealy, 4 of the 5 members of One Direction and Bieber are some of my more famous clients. Don't worry world, Bieber's deal is 2 years from being completed, so just deal with his music a little bit longer. The kid I'm talking to today is the son of a very powerful financier, or at least was. Kid wasn't hugged enough, so he sold his soul to kill daddy and inherit the millions left behind. So I just have to summon this girl with her flyer and you'll give me 5 more years. The kid sounded skeptical at the other end of the call. Yes, you get 5 years in addition to 3 years you still have on your current contract. I said as the line became silent. Alright, you have a deal. How are we going to update the contract? I have already written it up, just waiting on your signature. Okay, let's sign. I teleported to him as I hung up the phone. I materialized the contract into existence and put the contract on his desk. I stared at the human, a well-dressed Japanese boy of 16 years old in a black suit, as he walked to his desk after grabbing a pen. Here. Sign at the bottom and we will be good to go. Alright, it's done. Ah, he did it. I thought he tried a chicken of the deal. Smart boy. I hung up my phone and teleported to his apartment. Katana girl, Tomer Meguri of the student council, in the flesh, without her katana. You. She shouted at me with malice in her voice. I smiled as I stared at the ceiling above her. A perfectly painted devil's trap. A devil's trap is an elaborate magic sigil that renders devils powerless when they are trapped within the confines of the sigil. Was it hard? I asked as the human. No, getting the flyer was easy enough. The devil's trap was annoying to paint to say the least, but it wasn't hard. I nodded at this human and then at the trapped Tomo Meguri. I held out my palm and cast a spell on her. You cupimus, tibi somno consapiri sempiterno. She collapsed on the ground as I stared at her, then back at the human. Well. I'm not going in there to drag her out, I'll be trapped inside. I said as I thought about the flaws of the trap. A devil under its own power can't get out of it, but another being teleporting it out or just dragging it out will suffice. Truly a weak form of binding, but I wasn't in the mood to teach this human the finer points of devil binding. The human grunted but proceeded to pull Tomo by her legs out of the devil's trap. I got a nice view of her white panties as the human lifted her legs up, but then pushed all lecherous thoughts out of my head. I placed a hand on her, binding her with a magical seal that will take a bit of time for even the most experienced spellcaster to undo. You fulfilled your end of the bargain. I said to the human. I walked towards him and placed my palm on him as a black light enveloped the room. I turned back to the magically bound and unconscious Tomo before picked her up and throwing her over my right shoulder. I turned back to the human as I summoned a magical teleportation circle. See you in 8 years. Is the letter prepared, Lord Asmodeus? I asked Lord Asmodeus as I dropped the unconscious girl on the floor in our hideout. Yes, just making some finishing touches. I nodded and waited in the next room, planning all the possibilities of the mission. There is a very real chance that we will die, but it will be worth it as 2 fake Satans will be killed, but more importantly, Lady Leviathan will be avenged. I sighed as Lord Asmodeus called in back to read his letter. I took the letter and examined what it said. To the owner. This is the last straw, you've killed her. Katerea Leviathan, great daughter of Leviathan herself, and love of my life. Ha! You think that we are finished don't you? But we are not. We will rise again and claim what was ours. First things first though. We need to get rid of you. It is quite simple what needs to be done. You see, we have something of yours. Quite a buxom, young, developed girl here. Shame if something were to happen to her. You see, by the time this letter reaches you, there will be a portal open at the coordinates at the bottom of this letter. The traitor queen and the fake Lucifer and fake Leviathan are to show up at this location at 8 in the morning on Wednesday, the 28th. More than those 3 people show up, she dies. You fail to show up, she dies. You show up late, she dies. But don't worry, you'll get your precious pet back. One body part at a time. From the true Satans. I smiled at this letter. This will do the trick. Our plan will succeed. Lady Leviathan will be avenged. I opened my eyes to survey the barren wasteland in front of me. This barren empty field is the pocket dimension that I created for the final battle. We are just waiting for them now. It is them or us. Either they will die or we will. There will be no surrender, no retreat. We either kill them or die trying. It is a grim reality that we must face to avenge Lady Leviathan. They will pay for what they have done to her. I stared at Lord Asmodeus to my right and Lord Beelzebub to my left. The stern looks on their faces paint their determination to see justice be served onto those who killed my master. There is also that Tomo girl that I kidnapped, she is bound and gagged in front of us. I stared downward at my watch. 7:57, 3 minutes until they arrive. Issei, Crucery. I have something for us. Lord Beelzebub said, causing me to turn to him. He is strapping on some mechanical glove to his left hand and in his right hand there is a briefcase. He opened the briefcase and there are 3 vials inside of it. More of Office's snake. Take it. We will need the power. He said as I grabbed a vial after Lord Asmodeus did. I glanced at this vial with Office's snake in it. There is already one of Office's snake in my body and I am about to ingest another one in. Will that be too much? No, I must. This is for Lady Leviathan. I will do whatever it takes to avenge her. I opened the vial and swallowed the snake within. Ah. 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 Power is flowing out of my body. I stared at my hands, which are trembling with power. The veins have bulged out as the air around me became mixed with the aura my body is leaking out. There are 3 openings in the dimension. Our guests have arrived. The fake Lucifer, the fake Leviathan, and the traitorous queen. We are here, now let her go. Fake Lucifer said sternly as I glanced at the 3 in front of me. Fake Lucifer is to the left, fake Leviathan is in the middle, and the traitorous queen is to the right. How about no? Lord Beelzebub said as he launched a light spear at the bound Tomo. Ah, that is what that glove is for. The spear went through the girl and killed her. I looked at the shocked faces of the 3 in front of me as Lord Beelzebub launched spears from his glove. The 3 scattered as Lord Beelzebub called out orders to us. Crucery, get the bitch queen. I got the read. I nodded as that means I will fight with the fake Leviathan. I flew towards her as I launched hundreds of demonic lightning at her. She raised a barrier of ice that my lightning destroyed but left her completely fine. You are my opponent. Fitting that I'll be the one to get revenge on you for disgracing the name Leviathan. She frowned as I leaped in for more attacks. I rushed at her with fireballs and she dodged them. Damn, she's fast. Alright, no more dodging. I launched balls of demonic energy on either side of where she was going to be. She stopped violently and that gave me the chance to close the distance on her. Amahi fortitudinem malum. I said as she raised her eyebrows at this. Let's have some fun, shall we? I materialized a hammer and swung it at her face. Why isn't the spell working? It should have further enhanced my speed and power. The hammer missed her smirking face as she dodged to the left. I negated your spell. That bitch. I went to jab her in the stomach with the hammer but noticed that she froze my feet in place. I generated fire on my feet, melting the ice restraints on them. I rushed at her with my hammer while quietly generating a short dagger in my left hand. She used her magical wand to parry the hammer and tried reaching at my face with her open palm. I moved my head to the left, dodging her attempt at grabbing my face. She would have turned my entire head into ice from what I know about her abilities and fighting style. I reset and held up my weapons in fighting stance. She started to freeze over the ground as I generated fire from the soles of my feet. The ground froze over and then burned as my magic overpowered hers. Thank you, Office's snakes. I smiled as a look of horror appeared on her face. I approached her as I coughed up blood. Well, it is worth the price of Office's snake if I get to rip her lungs out of her body. She tried to open her wings, and she did. The moment they come out, however, I burned them to a crisp. Someone clip your wings. I rushed at her, seizing her by the throat and lifting her up. Her surprise only added to the delight of this. Time seemed to slow as I looked into her eyes. Ah, the fear she is showing is wonderful. Such a proud, arrogant devil on the brink of death. Vengeance is going to be sweet. Scratch that, justice is going to be sweet. You know, she often told me of this moment how she would relish in it. But since she isn't here, I'll do the honors. I grinned, further than I ever did before. I reeled my fist back and rammed it into her stomach. Her blood felt purifying on my skin as I pulled my fist out of her body. I was suddenly thrown to the side as I was smiling. I fell to my back and lifting my head up, could see the fake Lucifer with a look of concern on his face as he pulled his right hand back down. Stupid Issei, letting yourself get distracted and not observing any dangers around you. You deserved that, and you know it. I got back to my feet as I glanced down at the body of the fake Leviathan and then at the fake Lucifer and the traitor queen. I did. I mean we finally did it. Master, you are avenged. Justice has been served. The smile came back to my face as I saw the fake Lucifer and the queen come near the fake Leviathan's corpse. He'd go this far. The ground started to tremble as the fake Lucifer spoke, the venom obvious in his voice. I grinned as I felt the air become heavier and heavier due to the amount of hatred that is leaking out of his body. Good, now you know the pain I felt. Yes, and we will not stop until the streets of Lilith run red with the blood of the fakes. That includes you too, traitor queen. I said as the traitor queen scowled at that name. I remembered that blow that the fake Lucifer used to push me away after I killed her, and I looked at it by glancing down. Ah, my chest and stomach have 2 gaping holes in them. The effects of Office's snake might have dulled the pain, that must be why I didn't feel it. I glanced back at the fake Lucifer and his queen, deciding on how to make their deaths as slow and painful as possible before a thought came into mind. Where did Lord Beelzebub and Asmodeus go? I looked around and didn't see them and couldn't feel their aura. Have they died? And I was too preoccupied to notice. I feel strange. I should be mourning them and being in a rage, but I am not. Everything is extremely clear and calm to me. Does Office's snake provide mental focus as well? I stared at the 2 in front of me as I pushed thoughts of Lord Asmodeus and Beelzebub to the back of my mind. They will be mourned and celebrated as heroes later. Right now, these two must die. I flexed my arms as I felt the power in my body. So, are we just going to stare at each other until the end of eternity, or are you going to do something? I smiled as a thought came into my head. You should probably use your true form, you'll need it. The ground violently trembled as rocks vaporized right in front of the angry faker. His body morphed into one of pure demonic energy which I can feel this far away from him. So this is the true power of destruction that the Grimoire are famous for. Frightening indeed. The body of energy raised its hand and launched a beam of the power of destruction at me. I grinned as I raised my own palm and launched a stream of pure demonic energy at him. Surzich's beam split into thousands of spheres, but he is open for attack. My attack struck him and caused a giant explosion. Did I do it? Did I finally kill him? No. No. He is still alive, in his true form. No time to fire another attack as his spheres are coming right at me. I put up 4 earthly walls around me and closed myself in by putting a wall on the top. I muttered an incarnation of Latin to further strengthen the walls from attack and then waited. The explosions were tremendous as his spheres hit my walls. I stumbled back as I felt the walls start to crumble. But they didn't. The walls held as the explosions stopped. I put down my walls and looked at the two in front of me. I felt a tremendous stinging pain in my back as I was forcefully thrown forward. I looked back to see my entire lower body disintegrated and a giant hole in my back. I understood what happened, and it was brilliant. Make me feel safe and then have the true attack hit me in the back. Cowardly, but effective. Alright, I'm not going to get out of here alive then. I can't teleport as my energy reserve's close to being depleted. I lifted my head up to see them approach me. He turned back to normal and has a sad look in his face. I chuckled at him as they stood over me. What is this, the part where the hero lords over the fallen? I asked as he held his palm out. No, this is where we close a painful chapter in our history. I burst out laughing as he said this. Indeed. I rolled as far as I could from him and then looked at him. You killing me will destabilize this entire dimension, but if that is what it takes to kill you. I smiled as I thought of my final spell. Immolari pro anima mea optimum. I felt my life force drain from me as I uttered the incarnation for the suicide spell. The ground started to quake as the dimension crumbled around me. Ha 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 ha. Alright, if I can just kill these last two, this will be worth it. No. No. I see them in a teleportation circle and I need to stop them. Damn it, Issei, move. I can't move fast enough in this dying body of mine. I crawled towards him as fast as I could. I can't let it end, not like this. I'll kill you. I summoned as much strength as I had left in me as I crawled further towards them. I am too late. He teleported out of here with her and the spell can't be reversed. I feel the remaining life I have coming out of my body. I'm dying and there is no way to stop it. I feel my body shutting down on me with all of my organs failing at the same time. I can't feel any part of my body anymore. I'm sorry, Master. I have failed you. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.